The psychic being, or the double soul in man, Sri Aurobindo's Life Divine, chapter 23. Hello, this is Chris speaking with a video about Sri Aurobindo's Life Divine, this time chapter 23, which is called the double soul in man, but the chapter could also be called the psychic being. Here he introduces finally his concept of the psychic being. What is this famous psychic being? Where is it? Because usually we feel our body, our thoughts, our emotions, our senses, maybe even our life pulsating through us, but no psychic being. That is why he calls it the double soul in man, mankind, men and women. He always says man, but he means men and women, of course. It's just old-fashioned language. So the one soul, we could say, is the ego. The ego with its cravings and emotions and thoughts linked to the body and to the life. And then there's another soul, which is eternal, which is the divine spark, that is kind of standing behind this more superficial ego soul and trying to communicate. It's subliminal. What does subliminal mean? It means it's veiled. It's not immediately visible. And he says it is the concealed witness and control, the hidden guide, the daemon of Socrates. Someone asked me recently, what is the daemon in Greek philosophy? Yeah, it's this. It's intuition, the psychic being, the real soul, the divine spark, the inner light, the inner voice. It is imperishable, untouched by death, corruption, and decay, indestructible, and is with us from birth to birth. It is that what we have been talking about in previous chapters, that cannot die. In chapter 17, for example. It is behind mind, life, and body, but supporting it. It's behind the mental, the vital, and the physical, but supporting it. In ancient Chinese philosophy and mysticism, the heart is the seat of the emperor or the empress, not the brain. The interesting thing here is that this psychic being does not have to be developed. Our mind and our body and so on, we have to train from toddler age up to adulthood, which we usually never reach. Our mind usually never reaches real adulthood. But the psychic being is part of the infinite, so it's already complete. And it is this part in us which enables us to perceive truth, beauty, love, harmony, and so on later on. And it's that part of us that makes us a saint or a sage or a seer later on. I'm very careful in calling it true self. I think true self is a word that can only be misleading. It's not a true self. It's the connection to the impersonal. So it's not a self. Maybe it's a true unself. And instead of having it in the background, we have to bring it into the foreground. And once we do this, which is difficult enough, there lies a danger. Because once the psychic being steps into the foreground and the ego steps into the background the way it should be, the psychic being can become content with perceiving truth and beauty and harmony and peace. It becomes very passive and just enjoys the beauty of the world, which has to the ego seemed to be the horror of the world. What the psychic being is really for, and what we can do with it, is reunion. Again, yoga, reunion with the divine. It can open up to the divine that will stream into it from the above, so to say. Of course, there is no above. And thus there is a transformation after all. Although the psychic being is complete already, there can be a transformation towards the divine. And that is the difference between simple enlightenment and full enlightenment. The Hawkins scale 600 and 700. It is in itself wise beyond description, but it can open itself up to the supermind, to the spirit. It is part of the spirit, part of the divine, but it can open up itself more and correspond with the supreme reality. And this idea is very interesting. I didn't get it for a long time until I have observed many enlightened teachers and why they stop. And now I get it. They stop because they are in contact with their psychic being. Their psychic being has taken over and their ego has dropped into the background, into insignificance. And then they think, okay, that's it. That's it. Enlightenment has happened. Great. Now I just sit there and watch and do nothing. And that is not enough. Once this has happened, you can open up for the complete transformation, for the complete union. And this is the biggest surrender. Bernadette Roberts talks about this. This is the most difficult surrender because you already feel all this beauty and peace and harmony. You can feel that there is something divine out there, and that the world is a place of beauty. And even that you can sacrifice. Even that you can give up. Even that you can surrender. And that is complete enlightenment, and that is the reunion with the divine. So in the end, the psychic being is not a true self, but also a vessel of divine transformation, which is our collective goal of humanity. And this was it about the double soul in man and women, the psychic being. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all my Patreons. Thank you for joining me as a Patreon. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing the videos with your friends. And see you soon.